total available funds, revenue funds that are available to the community. And it's conceivable that we should take a larger share of that. And I'm not trying to create a war either, by the way. I'm simply stating a fact that perhaps our share of that should be larger. It's a matter of balance in the community. And we're down to, we don't have anything else left here to cut that won't hurt and hurt the education of the kids. It's just not the right thing to do.
Well, I would say over the last several years, we've been fairly successful at negotiating a larger share from the town with the cooperation of the Board of Selectmen. I'm not sure we're at where we should be, Cliff. I agree with you. But I know at least the last 2 budget seasons, we have worked fairly closely with the Board of Selectmen to try to fund some of the shortfalls in our budget. And I know Mel and Maureen are meeting probably once a week? Every other week with the chair and the vice chair from the Board of Selectmen, as well as the chair and the vice chair from the Finance Committee, to try to resolve some of these issues.
And I do appreciate that there has been a lot of effort there. I'm not sure that it's there yet.
Well, and I think the thing that it's mostly a state issue, although I do agree that maybe the percentages can change a little bit from in the town. But when you have a 58% increase in student population, which we've had since, I believe, 1990
to
2008.
To fiscal 08,
right.
We had a 56.3% increase in school population, and we had a 17% increase in our overall population. Right. And the school rate of increase has been, consistent with that kind of a population increase, has been lower than what that would have been if you just followed the numbers.
The other thing that Cliff points out a lot that's interesting is I believe we're one of the highest percentages in the state in terms of percentage of school children per population.
Right. We're high,
right.
High by quite a bit. I actually had those numbers back there a little while ago, but I don't know what to do with them right now. We're like, I don't know, 5 people per student, and a place like Cambridge is 3.5, 4 times that.
Almost exactly. I think our population is 14,000. The students are 2,800, so it's about 5 persons per
and
student.
So if you put the balance, it'd be a little like our having, I don't know, 700 students instead of 2,800.
If we were like Cambridge.
And we'd be in the situation that Cambridge is in.
Right.
Some of the communities around Reading, and I think Andover, Linfield, happen to be similar to what we are as far as that ratio. But Middleton has it real easy in that ratio. They're like half as many students for the population as we are. And even half. If you had 1,400 students, that would be a pretty sizable difference in the cost of the school. We've got $24 million budget. You'd be $12 million less. That'd be pretty handy.
Any other comments from the committee?
No, but I see.
I was going to say it's
public here now.
we don't have we decided this would be a public hearing, but I will allow a few questions to be asked if anybody wants to ask a question, make a comment. If any of the administrators would like to make a comment at this time, we do have most, if not all, of our principals here, and Chris D'Andrea, and I see Pam Bowden back there, and I don't know who else is here, but I see a bunch of folks here. So if anybody has any questions or comments, we're not going to come to a budget tonight. We'll probably be doing that within the next month or so, 4 or 5 weeks. Hopefully we'll have more information at that time. So if anybody has any questions or comments, I'll entertain them now. Okay, great.
Wait a second.
Oh.
Nobody has anything to say?
Could you come up here and sit at the table and...
No.
Yes.
We need you for the microphone.
Yeah, and state your name and address.
Oh, it's just a quick comment. Pam Ellis, 22 Magnolia Street.
I just feel just horrified that everything that you're saying about, what Cliff was saying about the bare minimum of the education. I just feel so badly that the 2,800 children, that my children, our children, have this bare minimum education, and that just
It's, oh, I
feels
guess I'll address
terrible.
that. It's bare minimum, but it's the, what am I thinking? It's the gold level bare minimum, at the platinum level. In other words, when I say bare minimum, I guess what I mean is, we could always have a lot more programs. We should have a lot more programs. We should have more than 2 foreign languages at the high school. We should have better science labs. We should have more librarians and computer technicians and all those kinds of things. But for what we have, and I think if you look at our MCAS scores over the years, our SAT scores, which have gone up and down, but they're coming up now. Most of you weren't here tonight. We had our student representative just got accepted into Cornell. And I think that's something we're all really proud of when you see a student from North Reading High School get accepted at Cornell University. So there's a lot of good here. I'm always frustrated, as Cliff and as we all are, because we know we could be providing a lot more if there was more money. So I'm not saying that, I don't think the kids are getting cheated, but obviously there is a lot more that we could offer if the financing, if the money was available. So
It just sounds like they are, because we haven't restored some of the programs from a few years ago. And I'm not saying, I think the administration's doing a great job with the funding that they do have. And I think, we're doing the best we can. It's just, it just doesn't feel good.
We should do a lot more. Our kids are gonna live in a world none of us can even imagine. And the technology and the science that we should be providing, we don't come close to because we don't have the technology, the equipment, and the labs. We have the best of teachers, and we have a supportive community. What we could do if we had a state-of-the-art science lab, if we had modern technology and the support staff, would put our kids in a very competitive place in those fields. And that's what the colleges are looking for. That's the employment world of the next generation. Even our business education program, it's lacking. We need all kinds of finance courses and budget planning and, business courses. And we can't get started because we cut programs because not enough kids are taking them. But that's an upstart program. You let it float with a dozen kids when you have the money to let it float. And eventually you have an incredible business education department. And you send kids off to careers right from school. And we don't have that. And we should.
Well, and the hunger is there too, especially at the high school level, the thirst for knowledge that these kids have. We've added, and Mr. Bernard can speak a little more to this, but we added a bunch of new courses this year, and I believe most of them were, I call them oversubscribed with the number of students we had that responded for the novel writing. And I don't know if you want to just address that for a minute.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah, we've added a number of new courses over the last 5 years, and the subscription has been high. It's been nice to do that, but we're obviously...
We're staying status quo.
Exactly, yes, given the situation, right?
So that when we have those courses, you do see the kids, they really jump at that opportunity.
I think what we're doing is, at least from the test scores, we're being successful in the core things that we teach, and those are what are being tested. But what we're missing are all of those other things that make the whole education, and we're not doing all of those that we should be doing. So we're not growing the entire student. We're growing the core stuff out of it. And we need to be doing that and doing it, we need to be doing the whole thing better. And we can't because we don't have the resources to. We teach two foreign languages, and we ought to be teaching 5. And we ought to have full subscription where all of the kids teaching, picking those up. That's just one example, but there's a whole raft of those things. We ought to be able to develop the whole child better than we are doing. And we're in a community where there's a lot of parents that provide a lot of those things for their own children. But there's a whole lot of kids that are getting shortchanged on it because they're not here in the schools.
Any other questions or comments? Okay.
You gotta cast your mind right away. I guess a first few questions, and then a few comments. I guess what I thought we would have, what I thought was gonna be accomplished tonight, perhaps I misunderstood, is that you presented several times level 1, level 2, and level 3 reductions. And I don't see the level 3 reductions here, and I guess I question why they're not on at least the piece of paper that was up there for a handout. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you haven't voted on a budget, then everything's still on the table. And those things should be on the table because as a community and as a group of people that support education, the community has taken a hard tact that we're asking employees to make some sacrifices, and unless something drastically changed and I haven't been made aware of it, we're still asking employees to do that, are we not?
Well, Deanna, we are now in contract negotiations. Those things are still on the table. I think it's a little sensitive for us to be discussing because of the beginning or the commencement of negotiations, so.
But it's still on the table, though?
It is still on the table,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was clear,
Positively,
okay.
yeah.
And the other thing is, I thought that there were other dollars that had been suggested by the Board of Selectmen that could be made available to the school department in good faith, and notwithstanding, the meals tax, the room tax, the energy reserve fund. I thought my understanding is that could start to be massaged over to the school department. We do know that there will be funding for getting us up to foundation. I guess it's still in question as to what that dollar amount is. So there are some intangibles that don't have to be so tangible anymore. I just wonder why you can't present the public with a budget that looks like if we have the stimulus money, or we have in good faith the money that's been allocated from the Board of Selectmen, what that pyramid could start to look like, so we'd have a better idea, as opposed to not making any decisions whatsoever or not prioritizing anything. I guess I'm confused by that.
But if we put together a budget based on probably revenue sources, we would have so many different pyramids lined up on this table. Until they're a little more concrete, we have to move towards that gap. And voting the additional level 1 items tonight did that. Yes, Bob Messeri did come to our last public hearing, and he mentioned some potential additional revenue sources, but he has to run that by his board, and it will come to us through the finance planning meeting after Friday morning. So we can't really put that out there until Bob and Steve report back that there's a consensus that could not happen.
I mean,
We would be
I think the
stuck.
assumption is that, depending on the funding, that we would begin to reinstate the level 1, level 2 cuts that are in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, obviously, if those are the things that we've cut, then those are the priorities going backwards that we would put back into the budget.
Yeah, but there is the potential, that's why I said earlier, let's put on the brakes, and I wouldn't make any more cuts, because as you said, in a combination of areas, the level 3, and the potential from the Board of Selectmen, and a potential from a stimulus, that we could put the brakes on right now and wait until something more solid comes through. But
Yeah.
I'd be short of going anywhere until we know.
To me, I think the reason why I don't want to do that tonight is I think it's almost worse to start putting out pyramids and budgets that make it look like we might get some money and then almost have to take that away later on, which is, which we might have to do. I mean, my goal, and I don't think we're going to get enough money to do this, but it could be close, is to not have to implement any one of Dr. Troton's level 2 cuts.
Right.
That's my goal right now.